Well, good morning or good afternoon, whatever the case may be for you. Thank you so much for looking in on this webinar. It's one of many webinars I produce for Insurance WebEx. And those of you who know me know that this is very unique because I do not come here from a financial background. I, for 37 years, was a professional sports psychologist working with Olympic gold medal winners, professional football players, golfers, you name it. And in 2008, I had an epiphany. I saw what was happening in the financial and economic circles and realized that financial professionals could use my help the same way that athletes did. So I pivoted my career at that point and started working with financial professionals and insurance producers like yourself. In fact, that's what led to me writing the book, The Financial Advisor's Ultimate Stress Mastery Guide. And by the way, at the end of this session, I will tell you how you can get a free copy of that book from me. I'd be happy to do that because my passion is really to help financial professionals to become the champions that they really can be. Most of you are very gifted people. You've gone through all of the exams, all of the series challenges and so forth, but yet many of you do not ever live up to your potential. It's buried under layers of lack of confidence or feelings of self-doubt or fear of failure. And my job is to teach all of you how to overcome those psychological obstacles so that you can be a success forever and catapult your career immediately. The book, as I mentioned, The Financial Advisor's Ultimate Stress Mastery Guide is a game changer, and I'm happy to send each of you a copy, an e-version of that book that you can have for yourself, and I'll tell you at the end how you can do that. Now, how do you know that this workshop is for you? Let me ask several questions. Question number one, do the demands of your career sometimes feel overwhelming? Two, are you concerned that colleagues of yours, perhaps not even as experienced or as talented as you, seem to be producing more than you are? Three, does your stress level increase when you consider prospecting and the thought of having to prospect some more? Four, do you blame yourself or beat yourself up for what you consider to be failures in your career? And five, do you sometimes debate whether this career is really for you? Well, if you answered yes to any of these questions, then the seminar here is perfect for you. Again, my passion is to teach you how to overcome the psychological obstacles to your success, something that I don't know anyone else who teaches that or comes from a sports psychology background. So that's what I do. Now, what do I do besides produce these webinars? Well, I'm a consultant. I work inside insurance firms sometimes and inside advisor firms. I do professional confidential mentoring of financial professionals. I have a course. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later because you can earn 12 continuing education credits for it. And I'm offering a special for this, just the month of November, to Insurance WebEx attendees, a very big special for WebEx attendees. And I also have an interesting client event that I'll tell you about later. It's unique and it rivets clients and prospective new clients right to your practice. So I'll explain all of that to you later, but I really want to get started and share with you this research-based cutting-edge information. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to get started on the first slide. If I can do that correctly, that'll be nice. All right. Proven mental prescriptions that drive success for the insurance producer. And of course, some of you are financial advisors and insurance producers. This is appropriate for everybody. What are my goals for today? For this webinar, my plan is to teach you everything I know about this in a short period of time. I'm probably only going to spend 20, 25 minutes here because I know that people get tired and bored and have other things to do. So I really want to give this as an introduction, but you can get much more information from the book and from the course. What you're going to learn today is what the real source of all of your stress is, what the real source of your attitude problems, what the real source of you not producing as much as you're capable of. I'm going to get to the nitty-gritty for you. And there's a series of bonuses at the end, by the way, that I'm going to provide for you. And you can submit questions to my email at drjack@advisingtheadvisors.com. So any questions you have, just jot down that email and I will respond to each and every question whenever it comes in. Obviously, you'll be listening to this webinar, watching it at different times. So whenever it comes in, just tell me you have this question from the webinar. I'm going to talk to you about toxic core beliefs and what that really means versus healthy core beliefs, which really undermine everything that has to do with success or failure. I skipped one. This all begins with your internal conversations, the self-talk that you go through that lead to your attitudes, and your attitudes lead to your behaviors. And we'll talk about that. Now, I'm going to talk to you about how to develop superior sales success consistently. And then I'll give you 3 bonus tips, and then the mega bonus that I mentioned will be coming at the end. Now, this is how my training differs from traditional sales training. In traditional sales training, you're learning about skill sets for opening and closing sales and so forth. Talking to people perhaps is part of it. And traditional sales training ignores what I consider to be the most important part, which is the mindset for success. How do you develop the mindset for success? Well, here's a formula that may be startling to some of you, but your sales performance at any time equals your talent plus your knowledge plus your skill sets minus distractions. So that means if you have a lot of distractions, and by distractions, I'm talking about toxic self-talk habits, which we'll discuss in a minute, the more distractions, the less your performance will reflect your talent and knowledge. So you can have all the talent in the world, all the knowledge in the world, all of the skill sets in the world. But if you have not taken charge of the toxic self-talk that goes on in your mind, your sales performance will never be up to par and will never reflect the talent, the knowledge, and the skills and experience that you have. What do I mean by toxic self-talk habits? Well, here are some examples. Of course, there are many examples, but these are things that people have developed over the years, and they say to themselves on a regular basis, probably not consciously, but these are thoughts and beliefs that drive your behavior. I need to be perfect or I think I'm a failure. This is what we call all or nothing thinking. The thought that you really think that you have to be perfect or you're a failure. I need to be liked by everyone or I'll fail. The notion that if everyone that I come in contact with doesn't like me, then there's something wrong and I'll fail. Or I'm not as good as everyone thinks I am. That's a very common one. We call this an imposter fear. What it really means is that my mentor, my boss, my colleagues, my spouse, everybody thinks I'm a lot better than I think I am at this career field. And my book helps you to uncover that fear and to extinguish it immediately, because that can really undermine your performance. Any statement that you say to yourself that starts with the phrase, what if, is almost always followed by some negative. So we want to take control of that. I need to fly under the radar. Don't make waves. Don't be obvious. Don't let people pick on you and so forth, so that you want to be invisible to them. That's an unfortunate toxic self-talk habit. And I need to avoid confrontations is another one. So let's talk about when you have those kinds of self-talk habits with the conversations you have with yourself. What does that lead to? What kinds of emotions does that lead to? You can imagine that those habits lead to a feeling of lack of control, leads to lack of self-esteem, feeling overwhelmed sometimes by fear of failure, feeling hopeless and even helpless sometimes when you're not successful in your career or selling or prospecting or what have you, and having pessimistic expectations that you don't really expect the future will be bright for you. That particular one is really unfortunate because there's a ton of research that shows that people who have optimistic expectations, that no matter what happens, no matter how many times they don't succeed in selling or gaining a prospect, if they have optimistic expectations, they will be much more successful than people who have pessimistic expectations and believe that this will just continue to happen over and over again. So what do we need to do? We need to recognize our negative self-talk habits because you can change them. These are all under your control. So I'm giving you some examples here of negative self-talk habits. If a client is short with me or cancels an appointment, it must be because of something I've done or didn't do. Another example, because I failed with this client, I'm afraid I'll keep failing. And the third one, I should have been able to close that sale. These are some of the many toxic self-talk habits that we tend to use unconsciously. In my book, I talk about the top 10. In my course, I talk to you about the top 10 and how to eradicate all of these very quick. But we'll give you a couple of examples here. How do we reframe? What do we do when we recognize that we have sort of a negative, self-defeating, toxic self-talk habit or a trigger thought? Like, this client is not going to want me to have anything to do with him again, or I'll probably continue to fail with other clients. Well, the first thing we need to do is recognize the trigger thought, and then we stop the thought. Now, how do you stop the thought? You stop the thought by putting a rubber band on your wrist, and the kind I recommend is a number 64 rubber band, but it's the kind that comes in the mail, sort of a fat rubber band that would sit loosely on your wrist. Snap that rubber band until it gets your attention, and that will stop the thought. Then take some deep breaths. Now, what kind of deep breaths am I talking about? In through your nose to the count of 4, hold it to the count of 4, then a big exhale out your mouth to the count of 7. In through your nose, hold it, then out through your mouth to the count of 7. That's the best way to calm yourself down quickly. And then reframe the thoughts in a positive way. So it's a little 4-step process. You recognize the thought, you stop the thought, you take some deep breaths, then you reframe the thought in a positive way. So with the examples I gave you before, if a client is short with me or cancels an appointment, I will pursue this again or I will move on. Is a much better way to look at this than I'll probably continue to fail or it's my fault. Here's the other one. Because this client decided to pass, there are many reasons that have nothing to do with me. I'll learn from this and move on again to your next opportunity. And next, it would have been great to close that sale. This is if you don't close one. But I realize this is a numbers game. It's time to look for the next opportunity. Can you see how much healthier and smarter that kind of self-talk is? Those kinds of conversations, taking charge of those conversations and removing the toxic, poisonous, self-defeating talk and changing it to healthy, nutritious talk is the key to your success. Now, let's talk about nutritious belief habits that lead to very positive emotions. The nutritious habits are the ones that are healthy, like the ones I just gave you. They lead to feeling like you're in control, that you have a high level of self-esteem, that you can embrace mental toughness, that you feel hopeful, and that you have optimistic expectations. Now, this is an interesting couple of slides that I put in here that I want you to see. An interesting couple of slides. Superb sales success is not based on the following things. It's not based on your sales talent. It's not based on your sales knowledge. It's not based on your sales experience. Isn't that interesting? Not based on those things. You might think, well, that's strange. It's not based on my talent, my knowledge, or experience. It's not based on your closing techniques. It's not based on how you prospect for new clients. It's not even based on your personality. So you're saying to yourself, it's not based on any of these things. I thought I needed all of those things in order to be successful. I thought that I needed to have sales talent. I thought that I needed to have sales knowledge. I thought that I needed to have sales experience. I thought that I needed to have closing techniques. I thought that I had to be able to prospect well for new clients. And I thought that I had the right personality for it. What is Dr. Jack talking about here? Here's what developing superior sales success is based on. It's based on the conversations you have with yourself about the sales opportunities and experiences that you have. These conversations lead directly to your attitudes, which are either going to be toxic or healthy. So let's take an example. Someone cancels a meeting with you. It's not the canceling of the meeting that leads to difficulties for you. It's the conversation you have with yourself about that cancellation. Is it a healthy conversation where you say, okay, there may be other things going on in this person's life and I need to move on to my next opportunity? Or is it an unhealthy conversation you have with yourself, like to say, I probably screwed this up, or I didn't call in time, or I didn't make a good enough impression? That's a toxic conversation. Your sales success is 100% determined by your ability to control those internal conversations in a healthy versus toxic manner. And I like this quote that I read once. I don't remember where I read it, but it was a wonderful quote. If you can conceive of it, so think about conceiving of having sales success, then you can believe in it. And once you believe in it, you can achieve it. So we need to really bear down on this internal conversation. And by the way, I don't expect you to memorize this. I know that I'm speaking fairly rapidly to give you as much information in as short a period as I can. I will be sending you the link, or when you look at this, you'll actually already have the link to this webinar. And you'll also have the slide deck. And if you have any questions at all, I will be happy to answer your questions. Just email me at drjack@advisingtheadvisors.com. So let's talk about this. What is this business of conversations with ourselves after events happen, especially after negative events happen? And how do we really control that? Well, here's your ultimate potential for superior sales success, to put it in a nutshell. Sales success equals your sales talent plus your experience plus your product knowledge minus internal distractions. Now, we already talked about what those internal distractions are. That's the conversations you have with yourself when bad things happen. If a client cancels, if you fail in a seminar, nobody shows up, or you don't get any new business out of it. If you fail in a client event to get any new business. If you don't pitch someone the way you think you should and they're not interested in following up with you. These are negative events. They don't cause anything. But the conversations you have with yourself about those events, that inner self-talk, is what determines whether you'll be successful or not. And as I said before, self-talk leads to attitudes, attitudes leads to actions, and actions leads to results. They're either going to be positive or negative based on your actions and your attitudes, which all stem from your self-talk. That's how you get superior sales success. And having an optimistic attitude, no matter what happens, is one of the crucial elements of that. Now, I always talk about here focusing on the present instead of the past or future. Remember, my background is as a professional sports psychologist. So I work with many athletes who, when they didn't perform as well as they thought they should, they constantly remembered those negative performances. That's a nightmare. You need to focus on your new opportunity, not what happened before or what's going to happen in the future, like what your score will be. So for an insurance producer, forget about the missed opportunities. Think about the present opportunity, and don't think about what is your quota, what are your goals, what if I don't make this, what if I don't make that. That's in the future. If you focus on the past or the future, you don't have the energy to focus what you need to on the present, which is your point of power. So what's a summary? It all has to do with your mindset. And developing the mindset of a champion, which happens to be the name of the course that you can get 12 continuing education credits for, is the most cutting-edge, game-changing seminar that's ever been produced by anybody like me, a psychologist working with financial professionals. Develop the mindset of a champion financial professional is the name of it. You can read more about it or register for it at www.developthemindsetofachampion.com. So I don't want to tell you everything about it. It's 6 modules. You can take as much as you want, much time as you want to take it. You get the credits immediately as soon as you take it, and you can retake it, but it is a life changer. And it's all about the conversations you have inside your head. Those determine what your mindset will be. The key is eliminating the toxic thoughts and replacing them immediately. And all it takes, just like with an athlete, is practice. If you practice it, it will be perfected. You can definitely do this. So when you modify your self-talk, you modify your attitudes, and you perform your best when it matters the most. This is mental toughness, performing your best when it matters the most, bringing your A game to all of your sales situations, and bouncing back quickly from adversity, such as losing a sale. These three items are the key to being mentally tough and overcoming every adversity, performing your best when it matters the most, bringing your A game to all your sales situations, and bouncing back quickly from adversity, such as losing a sale. I told you I would have 3 bonus tips for you, and I'm glad that I saved time to do that. Bonus tip 1 is repeating your personal performance statement. Now, what is a performance statement? This is a statement for you to write down that tells you what it would take for you to do your best in a selling situation consistently. What is the process for performing your best consistently? It's as if your best mentor or coach had 30 seconds to talk to you before you go into a sales seminar or an individual sales meeting. If that person only had 30 seconds to talk to you, what advice would that person give you? And I've given you a wonderful example that came from someone I was mentoring. He said, when I'm in front of a prospective client, I listen carefully using my active empathic listening skills. That's something that I teach clients, and it's also in the book and in the course, using my active empathic listening skills. And once I understand what keeps that client up at night, I can provide the solution, or I can look for the solution and get back with him and tell him that we will have the solution for you. So that's a performance statement. Whenever you're worried, think about this performance statement. It's much better than thinking about the things you're worried about. Bonus tip number 2, always have a personal highlight reel in your head. Now, what do I mean by a highlight reel? Recalling your greatest success in as much detail as possible. Was it a seminar? Was it a client meeting? Were you pitching a school board? Whatever the case may be, when you had extreme success, I want you to recall that as if it's a video in every detail you can. And then visualize your upcoming sales call as if you're wearing a helmet camera and you can see the same success happening. Visualize every detail of that upcoming sales meeting, seeing success at each step. Too often, we have a highlight reel in our mind of a failure, of the last time we did this, of what if it doesn't work this time, and so forth, instead of a positive, optimistic visualization. And that's what this is all about. We know from athletics and from working with financial professionals, if you visualize success, you have a much higher chance of having success than if you visualize failure or you don't visualize anything. Third bonus. This is a personal identity statement. What do I mean by that? What is a strength that you now have in your career or you'd like to have? And what objective do you want to accomplish? Put both parts together as if you've already achieved the objective. So think about someone who wants to lose weight. They're thinking, I would like to lose 20 pounds, or I am now seeing myself 20 pounds lighter. They're putting that together. That would be a personal identity statement. Here's an identity statement that a female that I was working with, a financial professional, came up with. I am more motivated than my competition. And she was really talking about her male competition. Because I take a genuine interest in the lives of every prospective client, they trust me, and I'm extremely successful closing business with them. Even if you don't see yourself there at this point, that's where she would like to be. That's where you need to put yourself. What is the strength that you want to have? What is the objective you want to accomplish? So now you have 3 bonus tips. Let's review them once more. Bonus tip number 1, a personal performance statement. What key things would it take for you to be successful consistently? Secondly, visualize the personal highlight reel of your best success and imagine it happening again in your next upcoming sales situation. as if you're wearing a helmet with a camera and you can just see it happening in a positive way. And third, having a identity statement, which talks about what your real goal is and what would really make success for you. So now we've had everything in a nutshell that you need to do to be the best you can be. Let me talk about another mega bonus that I was talking about and tell you, by the way, I'll tell you how you can get my book for free. If you're interested in that course, and I don't know who wouldn't because you need continuing education anyway, and this is worth 12 continuing education credits, a voucher for that. In the month of November only, for Insurance WebEx people, there's a $200 savings if you register. You don't have to take it now, just register. For my bronze package, a $325 savings for the silver package, and a $725 savings for the gold package. Again, you just have to register now. You don't have to take it now. You can take it at your leisure. You have years to take it, but you will get the 12 continuing education credits right away. So that's the big bonus that I have. Now, you want to know how to get the book for free. To get the book for free, email me at drjack@advisingtheadvisors.com. Just tell me you'd like to get the book that I talked about, or call me at 949-481-5660. And I will also give you, just for Insurance WebEx people, a free coaching consultation on the phone. Just call me. Tell me you'd like to set up a coaching consultation. We'll get it into my calendar. It'll be for free or to answer any questions you have. Oh, remember I mentioned the client event. As you know, you do client events. Hopefully they're successful, but in most cases they're ho-hum events, a chicken dinner at a restaurant. You get some clients to show up. Maybe a few bring guests. Either you present something on a new product that you're trying to offer, or maybe you bring in an outside speaker to talk about the future, or to talk about insurance, or you do a wine tasting. These are usually colossal fails. They're just a waste of money. Realizing that, I developed last year an unbelievably unique client event that may not even cost you any money to produce. I have an event that I come out and do for the advisor group or the insurance producer group called How to Live Much Longer Than Your Kids Hoped You Would. Now that's a silly title, but it's a serious subject. I really teach the audience the psychology of life extension, the cutting edge techniques for life extension that we have learned in the field of psychology. So you can imagine how everyone wants to learn this, and that packs the house not only with your clients, but everyone wants to bring a guest and share the wealth with them. And a typical comment that one of these guests makes is, your insurance man or woman or your financial advisor cares enough about you to have a nationally known psychologist fly across country and teach the clients how to live better and longer? My advisor never does anything like that. Maybe I need to rethink where my wealth management or my insurance business is going to be. It's a win-win situation. Now, why do I say it may not cost you anything? Because many groups I've worked with have had an insurance carrier happily pay the cost of this, because it's in their best interest. Not only are their ongoing clients, who are yours, going to live longer, which is in their best interest, but they're hoping to get new clients. And it could be a wholesaler that wants to help you with your business. So again, if you want to learn more about this, call me or send me an email. The email address is drjack@advisingtheadvisors.com. You can call me at 949-481-5660. Well, I really want to thank all of you for tuning in today. I know that you have plenty of other things you could have done, but this is going to make a major difference in your life. And as I told you, practice makes perfect. All you need to do is practice. So again, call me at 949-481-5660 or write to me at drjack@advisingtheadvisors.com for anything, including the book. And if you're more interested in the course, I can talk to you about that. Or you can go to www.developthemindsetofachampion.com. And I'd like to now end the meeting and say thank you and have a wonderful rest of the week for all of you.